Jeremy Chikarides. This is my history of the radio for my Communications 140 class. First, we're going to talk about the invention of the radio. Right, so the desire for wireless communication eventually led to the discovery of the radio. Experiments in wireless telegraphy started in the 1830s using capacitive induction and transmission through ground, water, or even railroad tracks. In 1888, Heinrich Rudolf Hertz proved the existence of electromagnetic waves, and these Hertzian waves would eventually come to be known as radio waves. And now, beginning in 1894, Marconi built the first successful radio. Now, looking at this, we can see that radio really evolved from telegraphs, right? It was very commonly and very oftenly referred to as the wireless telegraph in the early stages of its development, or when people were experimenting trying to discover a wireless telegraph system, radio was eventually what was almost accidentally stumbled upon. Now we're going to take a look at radio in the 19th century, right? Many scientists were doing experiments in this realm of electromagnetic waves, including Tesla and Edison. They were playing around. They were trying to prove Hertz is right or as wrong. Some people were realizing that these electromagnetic waves are a spectrum and that light acts very similarly, right? In physics, and we won't get too much into it, but light acts like both a wave and a particle. So some of these scientists were acknowledging the similarity between how light travels and how these electromagnetic waves travel, both being waves. And so they were using that to discredit the idea of Hertz's use of this for long-distance communication, because the idea was that light could only work for line of sight. And other people were discovering different areas of this radio wave spectrum, this electromagnetic spectrum. And now 1895 would see the creation of the first reasonable radio receiver, right? Marconi began experimenting and raising up his transmitters on radio antenna and trying to increase the range and develop this technology. Now, in the 20th century, right, the early 1900s saw this technology patented in the US, and another scientist had patented it in Brazil, a very similar technology. And as early as 1920, news programs began being broadcast. The popularity of the radio started increasing, and it started being used for lots of things. It began to be used as a navigation system for communication, aviation, navigation, and communication between people, CB radios, eventually turning into the radios truckers would use, or car radios, especially for music and entertainment now for us. And radio was also used to create early forms of television. They were transmitting pictures using this radio technology, and started with AT&T creating the first very expensive mobile telephone service. In those early stages, it would cost Americans in today's money well over $170 a month to be using this early mobile telephone system. And finally, we take a look at the present and really taking a look towards the future, right? The 21st century. Radio was and still is used for entertainment. I drive into work and I'm still listening to my 107.3, my stepson's favorite station, 93.3. These are FM radio stations. It's still widely used for entertainment. and people still listen to their news and all of these other things. But now radio has also developed into so much more, because now it's adapting with the times, it's turning digital. We're now seeing the rise of satellite radio, right? Sirius XM and things like that, where you get your lots of people are now paying to get their news broadcasts and their music in almost an upgraded quality, in an upgraded way, using satellite radio. Or even the origins of GPS, global positioning systems, were started with radio waves and satellites, and still uses radio technology. It's just now advancing and becoming more efficient with the times.